What if everything you've built your marketing on, SEO, backlinks, keywords, was about to get blown up by AI? That's the fear many small business owners have and that they would rather not talk about. Today, I'm speaking with Zak Ali. He's the general manager in the US for Finder.com, where they help millions of people make better financial decisions. Zak rose to the top without the traditional path of a college degree, but he also happens to be a highly skilled full stack marketer. And now, Zak is saying that AI search could kill the old SEO playbook. If you run an online business, you need to hear this. And now, here's Zak Ali. Hello, Zak. Thank you so much for making time to be on the Joe Show today. It's lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Joe. It's a pleasure.
I've heard that you rose through to your current position without following the traditional career path, without a college degree. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, definitely. So fresh out of high school, I was still planning to get my degree. Me and my best friend had moved a little further north in Northern Virginia. We're originally from Prince William County, and we had both gotten tech jobs really early. And while we were still sort of doing the community college route, deciding what we wanted to be, we were talking to our colleagues, and a lot of them were saying, hey, I went to school and got my 4-year degree for the job you have now. And so to two 19-year-olds making 60,000, which at the time was a lot of money back in 2011. It made the decision clear to sort of continue with the career that we had, and especially knowing that a lot of jobs require experience to get more jobs. We were like, well, we're getting great experience right now. We're learning a lot about the corporate world. We sort of have a leg up in life because of this. And so from there, we went off and, started our own business. And eventually through that process of starting a news company and learning a lot about media and content and SEO, that's sort of how I ultimately landed at Finder back in 2018. It was a news company and we were covering Trump and it was just too much. And I was like, I need to get out of there. And so I found a job online. I actually messaged the COO, Jay, on LinkedIn and said, hey, I think I'd be perfect for this role you have opening up. I think it was for a life insurance or a lending role. And I wasn't a super finance person at the time, but I knew a little bit about SEO from my experience as a news owner. And from there, I just went in, did my thing every day and put my right foot forward. And I guess the founders recognized that and sort of promoted me throughout over the years. Yeah.
I love it. I didn't go to university for different reasons, but sometimes I wish I had. And actually now I'm glad I didn't bother. So it's a funny thing.
Yeah.
You sometimes want that credibility or something, but
Yeah.
unless you're probably, resetting a bone or doing something, I don't think it's.
Oh, I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, especially with AI today, it's like you have the entire collection of human intelligence in these LLMs. And again, unless you're a surgeon or or a lawyer, actually not even a lawyer these days, right? Because you're seeing these LLMs pass the bar exam and do a better job. But so basically, unless you're a doctor or a physicist or something like that, it feels like, the college experience was probably more for the social aspect.
It's true. My partner and I actually own a racing yacht, and for a while we were running day charters with it a few years ago. And we had a guest on board one day who was a veterinarian, and I remember them sitting on the rail as we're sailing along, and they said, "Oh, don't tell anybody, but I YouTubed how to perform surgery on a rabbit once. I did tell the owner." So that was well before AI.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I always say my favorite university is YouTube University. There's very little you can't learn on YouTube.
It's pretty good.
Yes.
It's pretty good. So the Finder.com, I think it's a great company. I think it's always provided high quality information. I've seen that the company's done that. I am a bit of a fan of the founder and the fact that he didn't stand for rubbish in a legal capacity in Australia at one point and pushed back against some shite, shall we say? I'm allowed to say that on YouTube. And won. So, yes, big fan here. But the quality of Finder, I guess you've seen a lot of change in marketing and SEO. What would you say is changing in the last 2 years, if you put it in a nutshell?
So it was 3 years ago, actually, that they had the helpful content update that sort of put SEO on its head. And Google gave out all of this guidance. And little did we know at the time that by following that guidance, it wasn't going to change anything. Their mind was made up to
Good lot of courses to be run.
seriously, yeah. I mean, consultants probably had a field day with the business that where they were getting in. But it was unfortunate. And I remember that time. I remember we tried doing everything we could to sort of recover from that, being very people first, getting expert quotes, making sure our pages were as updated as they possibly can. All things that, we were doing anyways, but wanted to take it to even the next level to see if we could get back the traffic we had during the, 2011 to 2017, 2018 golden age. But nothing was working. Quite plain and simple, nothing was working. There was a bit of recovery here and there, bits of hope and then despair, and it sort of goes in that cycle. And just how the entire industry is experiencing sort of the same thing right now. And AI then comes in at a left field during the helpful content sort of update madness, and essentially the AIOs come out, and now users are able to get their own, basically the articles that it's training itself on is everyone else's content, but they're giving that to the user right there in search. And so it's leading to more zero-click searches, which means not clicking out into the websites that show up. And businesses are having to adapt, and Finder's no different. And we're finding really creative and new ways to appeal to our customers to try to bring them in.
I'm finding for clients that if they pay attention to what they put out on X, that it helps with Grok. And I'm thinking eventually that will help with the new encyclopedia that's being put out. So just feeding that ecosystem, I suppose, has been very helpful, in particular for one of my clients, that they cannot, when I was doing that work with them, they can't advertise on Facebook because their clients are sort of high net worth people who don't use Facebook. They're building large scale hotels to sell to Hilton or something, but they do use Google and YouTube. So we flipped it to there, but also on X for them worked really well. So obviously each to their own for small businesses and where the audiences are, but SEO is very broad. And you say the models need to know that authority and quote. I've seen very small businesses pulling sales through ChatGPT, which is, I love seeing their face light up when that happens. It's great. But do you think that small business owners are underestimating this change?
I think it's never been a more exciting time to be a small business, right? I think it comes with its challenges, of course, with, especially if they'd built up most of their traffic on one channel. But now, again, with these LLMs and with these resources available to them, they finally have the capability to play on YouTube, to play on X, to go on Google, and to be in sort of everywhere. They're calling SEO search everywhere optimization these days. Because it really is a connection of all of the different platforms. And so businesses, by managing their reputation, by going into these LLMs and asking what they know about them, what ChatGPT or Claude knows about you, for example, and hearing what it spits back out, it sort of tells you the areas you need to work to improve your reputation so that you're getting featured and cited even more in the answers when people are looking for something that you offer. But ultimately, again, with these algorithms like TikTok, which is just insanely addictive, and I'm sure there's more than a few people listening who have lost months of their life to just scrolling on that feed, myself included. The reach that's accessible to everyone right now is, if you just get in front of the camera and you sort of overcome and just start posting, is quite outstanding. It was something that wasn't available to us 10 years ago, and now we have all of this at our disposal to sort of bring in new customers, bring in new clients. And I've been really, I think I get most of my inspiration in marketing from the small businesses who have learned how to be crafty without these massive marketing budgets to make themselves visible and known.
Yes. All I know, I've had clients come to me from the weirdest source when I just showed up and did a module on email marketing for somebody's course who was a friend. And then suddenly I'm looking after a float spa in Washington or something. And it's fun, and I think as we've seen, it could go two ways. There are some people who I'm not against, it's awful when actually you're listening to YouTube music out in the garden or something and you think, oh, this is a cool track. And then you realize you're listening to AI music. And we could go completely into that world. But then, as we know, there are people who are going to want completely human, authentic interactions. And to differentiate yourself now, the easiest way to do that is to get comfortable, get out there, be seen. Yes, there are digital twins and all that stuff is happening, but I still think you're going to have an edge when it's actually you, at least for a while. Get in while we can.
Definitely. I mean, I always relate pure AI content to that scene in Good Will Hunting where he's sitting down with Matt Damon, Robin Williams' character sitting down with Matt Damon, and he's saying, I bet you could tell me all about the, Sistine Chapel, but have you ever actually been there? And, it sort of
Yeah.
drives home that like there's still a soul in the human created stuff. The AI stuff, AI content can be good and it can be very utilitarian, but there's no soul and there's something about effort having gone into it that makes it what it is and makes it more trustworthy and authentic.
I think that's true. If we remember that, even I was listening to Jensen from NVIDIA yesterday, talking about consciousness and really how it's just prediction still. If an AI wants to blackmail an executive when they put fake information about an affair in to test it, it's really just drawing like it would on a Shakespearean novel on how humans have behaved in the past because that's out there. So
Yeah.
it's not what we would probably define as consciousness yet. I have had emails that you train the GPT on a client's brand and it's written stuff that was so nice it brought tears to the client's eyes, who is an artist and hard to please, but describing something in a way that hasn't been put on the internet yet from us exactly
Yes.
is our edge. And it's definitely the vibe of who we are, I suppose. They haven't captured that yet. So we have that edge, which I think is very good. So if you were advising a small business owner today for search, what would you tell them to stop doing and what would you tell them to start doing?
What I tell them to stop doing is creating content for search. And just saying that like
Well said.
don't try to over optimize the words on the page. Really just speak how you would speak like a human. Really, that's the advice I always give folks is write like a human, write in a way that's going to make them understand. And don't feel like it all has to be words. Use graphics, use video, use any tool at your disposal that gets the message across in a way that's going to be genuinely helpful for somebody. Because at the end of the day, if everyone's doing the same thing and everyone's going off AI, you're going to have 10 links of carbon copy content and no one's going to get much value out of that, but they're going to find your piece of content that has that quirky image or your backstory or your life put into it. And it's going to resonate. And I think that's going to give you the brand preference in the future, over repeated visits of saying, every time I go to this site, there's something unique. There's something authentic about it. I don't care if it's in P10, I'm going to skip right over the other ones and click that one because that's the one that's going to give me the most value. And that's the one that speaks to me.
I think that's really good. I actually, because I love reading and I'm not particularly like if there's a video on an instructional, I kind of get a bit annoyed. I just want to scan the text. I'm that kind of person.
Yeah.
But I've had to realize that video is something that small business can use so easily. Like it doesn't cost anything. You pick up your phone and you hit record. And I forget the name of the theory, but there's that somebody at Google espoused it, you might know, where you build trust and their brain can't tell whether it's in real life or online. But something to
Mhm.
do with 7 hours of spending time with somebody and you just trust them in 4 different locations. Do you know the word? I can't remember. I should have prepared that one.
Can't
It's a really
remember
good
it,
one,
but
but something to do with the number of locations and the number of time spent. So obviously, if people are investing their time to spend with you, even if it's
yeah.
on video, it does build that trust in your brand and make it very easy for them to go, yeah, I want to do business with this person. So every business owner can do that, even if they maybe feel that they don't know how to deal with socials and want to farm it all out. Still just pick up the phone, record something to give to the person who looks after your socials, and that's going to feed the machine, if you like,
Oh,
in
totally.
the
I think
authentic way.
you touched on something when you said when you read content, you're looking to scan, right? And I think a lot
Yes.
of times, especially the wordsmiths out there, God love them, they don't overwrite because again, this is a search audience as well. That would be some
Yes.
practical advice is most people who are searching on Google are looking to scan. And it's about how you lay out your information in a way that's very easy for folks to pick up. Again, if it's a how-to guide or something like that, make it very scannable. If it's a blog, obviously, right, you're attracting readers. If it's like a blog about your travel experiences or something like that. But everyone has experienced the annoyance of looking up a recipe and then having to get the entire backstory of their grandmother and all the whole
That's
thing.
why
And
we
it's
all
like
go AI now. So just give me the damn recipe.
exactly. But it's one of those things where on the video front as well, when you said it's never been easier because of AI stuff's very polished a lot of the times. And I'm sure you've done Facebook ads, so the ugly ad is a thing. It's actually the
Oh, it
less
is.
polished, the
Yes.
less polished it is, the more it looks like you just are driving in the car and just picked up your phone, the better those convert because the person on the other end of the screen is saying, oh my gosh, this is a real person giving me
Yes.
a
Yes.
recommendation. Yes.
I ran footage once, actually. I have a client who sells, fashion, just boho dresses and things like that. And they had some footage of the models. They're just walking through the scrub, or bush, whatever you call it in America, and and just chatting banter with the photographer. It was just, you couldn't even really hear what they were saying. She was just walking ahead and looking cute, and it was about 12 minutes of it, and I just ran it. And I remember my client, she texted me, she said, "You haven't got any music on this video." I said, "Yes, but look at this, 12 times return on ad spend.
Right.
Please can I keep it?"
Exactly.
Because it was different, it was just like somebody was just hanging out there, and it
Yeah.
worked. So sometimes I call it sometimes the Tupperware party thing, you give the full thing and just let people play with it.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, something different and quirky can work. And as you would know, mistakes can work well and drive engagement because everybody likes to think they're clever and pick up the mistake. So they throw it in the comments.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the
Does,
engagement bait.
doesn't hurt at all. So if we're going to encourage small business owners to get on video, to not write for the machine, but keep it human, but still get out there often and everywhere, I think is
Mhm.
just a very simple way to think about it. Have you seen any companies, small businesses that you think are doing a really good job of this right now?
I think so I wouldn't be able to name the businesses
No.
again. It's from the months I've lost on TikTok, but I do see a lot of like restaurants on TikTok, restaurant recommendations that are finding really crafty ways and comedic ways to advertise their services.
Mhm.
And it's again, there's not that much production value. It's very much just people having fun, and that is resonating with folks, and it's almost getting a bit annoying because I'm seeing some of these places that show up on these TikTok and Instagram feeds now become super crowded, and some of these were my spots before, before they went viral, and now I can't
Damn.
get in. Yeah, I know. So it's um
Uh,
but Facebook's ad library is an amazing resource to spy on
yes.
competitors.
Yes.
It's so there's inspiration everywhere you look. Yeah.
Mm. It's very handy, the ad library, and being able to see how long an ad has been running for in the ad library to me is key, not just something they threw up last week. But if it's been running for a while, there's a clue that it's probably returning well for them. So
Exactly.
that works well. I'm actually going to interview, I think it's next week, a lady called Alison who runs a law firm in the States. And one of the staff on her team said, we could make some TikToks, and they serve underrepresented communities.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that one. They've done a good job.
I will say though, if you're a SaaS business, however, and you need to look really legitimate and you need that higher profile clientele, your values will probably be the best form of marketing. And so there's like ChatGPT versus Claude versus Grok. And I really like Claude's sort of thinking campaign they're doing right now, where they even had a pop up in New York where they were selling hats that just said thinking on it. And it did amazing wonders. But they've sort of positioned themselves as we're not going to be the biggest for everyone. We're for the professionals. And they've really narrowed down who they're advertising to,
Mm.
Claude. And I'm sure they still want the everyman customer, but they've said, no, we're going to go up there. This is our base. These are our evangelists, the people who love us and want us. And then so they've positioned their entire branding around that sort of ethos. And I feel like it's been really exciting to watch from the outside in, because it almost feels a bit like watching Apple find its sort of personality in the 90s.
Finding it's that clue when you look at who your best customers are and then just follow that thread, isn't it? People
Right.
make all sorts of slide decks with ideal customers and they're just bland. But if you look at who's spent the most money with you and just go and kind of check them out and then go, okay, let's find more people like this. Where are they? Not too hard,
Exactly.
I'm a simple kind of girl. Yeah. So as far as non-traditional career path, do you think that helps you look at things differently in what you do at Finder?
Oh, certainly. I think by not having gone through sort of the playbook, right? The life playbook that everyone sort of follows, where, it's a privilege enough to follow, where they get they go to school, then they go to college, and they get the spouse, and then they have not having followed the linear sort of traditional way of going about things has opened my mind to the sort of, I don't know, diversity there is in schools of thought out there. Not everyone does follow that path, and those people have unique experiences, and they might know of, they might be able to relate on an emotional level to an experience that no one else has had. And so therefore they're able to embed that in their copy, or they're able to embed that in how they communicate. And all of a sudden they're touching on these universal sort of emotions that everyone feels, but they only know it because they know that the other side of the sort of coin exists, right? They know the other side of the grass, I guess, or, the part that's less green or the part that is too green. They know how to relate to both sets of people. And I think that's definitely helped a lot. But I also feel like it's made me more curious to understand the perspective of the folks who did follow that path and what their expectations are for life. And a lot of them not are watching it not pan out necessarily the way that they had planned and seeing how they react to that. And, I think with the economic sort of situation being so tumultuous and everyone's sort of waiting to see if AI is going to be able to replace every entry level job or if it's going to be, or if the economy is going to come crashing down because of all this tariffs and whatnot, there is this bit of frustration around affordability and around other matters that is leading to it's sort of breaking the illusion that there is a path. And
Mm.
I sort of feel like I'm veering off of marketing and more into sort of a spiritual
I think it's very
chat here.
valid though.
Yes, but it's all connected, and marketing is very much a human science, and
Yeah.
so that's why you have to understand it all.
Yes. There's a cynical view of marketing, of course, where it has, marketers ruin everything. And
Right.
but there's also, for me, it's just connecting people with things that they want or need. If something's useful
Right.
or beautiful or both, the old maxim, then I would like to get it out there. So to
Right.
me, that's just being helpful. But I guess any way you look at it, yeah. If somebody was wanting to build a business right now, what should they be focusing on?
I would probably focus on upskilling. That's really where I would put most of my attention is instead of trying to do what's working right now, predict where the culture's headed, where technology is headed and focus there. Life is moving at light speed right now. 2 years ago, ChatGPT barely existed and now it is everywhere. AI is in the conversation, went from not existing at all to Nvidia was a gaming company. I always knew
Yes.
Nvidia as the gaming chips company. Now it's this whole thing. And so it's like you never know how quickly things can change and things are changing quickly. So adapt, learn. There's so much good free advice out there for anyone, to find. There's because of these sort of creator economy, incentivizing people to share what they learn. There's templates out there you can steal for your business. There's gurus on YouTube who will teach you how to use N8N and all these workflow automation tools.
Yes.
There's just so much available to you. So really
Handy.
pick that skill and just zone in on it.
That's right. And even things like N8N, I can use them, and I'm not techie, so there is a lot you can build in with automation with AI agents. It's great.
Yes.
How do you balance? I mean, I am a big fan of the Moonshots podcast, and so my brain is always out there with what Dr. Alex Wiesnegros is putting up on his updates, satellite data centers in space, and he's wanting to dismantle the moon, and the whole extreme. I'm like, my brain's there, and
Right.
it can be almost like the old religions where they'd think Jesus is coming back tomorrow, and everyone would just stop what they were doing and down tools.
Yeah, I
It can
know.
be kind of counterproductive in a way. How do you balance that? Because it is changing quickly. How do you keep it real?
I wish I had the answer there, really. It's like it is overwhelming. There's so much going on, and I constantly feel behind and to the point where like, what's the point of even trying to keep up? But that's sort of the fun of it all. Like if you really view career and like that almost like a video game or like a video game, then what can you focus on? What can you upskill? Like what can you learn that day that's just going to move you just a little bit closer to math? But I think it's just like it's the tools of the future, and it'd be impossible to not learn them because you're going to no matter what. So why not start today and position yourself? And one thing I did, I've done a Finder to get buy-in is to say there's no experts right now. Like there are very few, but there really are no experts. So what's going to make you an expert in this tool is just you using it because you're going to be in
Exactly.
that early adoption curve. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Nobody's got 100 years of historical industry academia to
Right.
draw on with this, really, unless you're in the very small hub of AI experts.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess it's those timeless principles just keep holding, don't they? What can you do today to move the needle for your business with the tools that you've got at hand? And there are so many inexpensive tools. It's nuts. Like, I'm shocked that Google business owners don't know more about Google Search Console and how it can show you exactly how people found your site and what page they showed them. And let's go and improve on that. Little things like that. That's free data.
Yes.
So I worry that business owners get caught with all of the shiny things in their feed, buy this, buy that, buy this, and then just don't use any of it effectively.
To be honest, you only do need, for the most part, the free tools. Google
Mm,
Ads, for example, has Keyword Planner. So now you have your
yes.
keyword research taken care of. If you right click and you use Chrome on any page, there's something called Lighthouse that if you click will give you an
Okay.
SEO. There's so much you can do for free that will move the ball forward. Like I've actually done this experiment before because I usually have some sort of niche site on the side that I'm always playing with. And there was one I had built, I remember, and I used no paid tools, and I was able to grow it to 1,000 sessions a month just using the free
Well,
stuff.
yep. It's great, isn't it? Yep. Google
Yeah.
Analytics, Google Search Console, Lighthouse, as you say, to right click and work out the speeds and improve on that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Okay, a $20 a month AI subscription to guide you through if you need it. And
Right.
yeah, I
On
mean, I
YouTube.
do blend paid ads with organic for clients that need results kind of fast, to keep
Yeah.
feeding it. But um, at the same time, organically, there's so much you can do. That's right.
So much.
Yeah. Okay. So we've, I guess, talked about the mindset that gives you the advantage is to keep learning new tools.
Mm.
If you could tell yourself something from when you were 20 years old, is there anything you'd like to say to your 20-year-old self?
Uh, Invest in NVIDIA.
Damn it, yes.
But beyond that, I would just say, like, don't be so afraid to just start because honestly, that is the most important part of business, of growing, of growth, just generally is to just start because once you start, you get the feedback. And then you get the feedback and then you get the growth. And it's just a never ending cycle. But if you're always waiting for that perfect moment to feel like you're qualified to do the thing that you just know in your gut you need to do, it's never going to come because there will always be one more thing you have to fix or figure out
Mm.
before you give yourself permission to fail. So that would be what I would say to my 20-year-old self who was very in his head about who am I to try and do this thing that compete against the New York Times for news and whatnot. And it's like, you know what? Just do it. You may not be qualified, and I certainly wasn't. We certainly weren't at that time. But eventually, when we just did it and we just anteed up and got in the game, we started developing the skills that made it actual plausible for us to work in that field and work in that industry. And so that would definitely be my advice. Just start.
I love it. It's a theme that's coming out in as I talk to people this week. You talked about it being an exciting time to start a business. And just yesterday, I published a conversation with Margaret Beeler, who is an author, and she thought, what if you don't want the feel of your favorite book to end? So she's come up with Trope Tales, which is a book of cocktails based on literary tropes, and it's just fun. And she's also come up with some cocktail powders and some mixy drinks and the story she was telling of the product development. And she said, if you want to do it, just start, get on Kickstarter. And she's very good at that sort of thing. But just an exciting time. And I loved hearing it because, it's just too easy to think we're all going to lose our jobs. We're all going to die. I much prefer that get into it, have a good time and build something attitude. It's a much nicer way to spend your days.
Right.
Yeah. So thank you, Zach, for your time. Where are you most active online if people wanted to connect with you on socials?
So LinkedIn, and I'm also on X and Blue Sky. So any of those.
Yes, okay. So I'll pop those links in the description, of course, and the link to your Forbes article as well that you wrote on SEO, because I think that's very helpful for business owners. We used to think that bot traffic to our sites was bad, and it's actually flipped the script now. Bot traffic to your site is good if it's the right kind of bot traffic. So helping business owners to start to think about it differently is hugely important right now. And as I said earlier, tiny clients are getting sales through GPT. So if they can do it, anyone can. Um,
Oh, definitely. And the
yeah, it's
quality
fantastic.
of those leads coming through AI is always higher.
That's right. The Google clicks are way down, of course, because everybody's reading the summary. But if you get someone to your site now, they are a high intent customer and
Yes.
you want to look after them as soon as they walk in that front door of your business on your website. So,
Yes.
yeah, really, really good. Thank you for your time today. Yeah, I'll stay in touch online and put out any resources I can see to help business owners navigate this time because, as you say, it is an exciting time and there is loads you can do for free. So that's great.
Thanks, Joe. It's been a pleasure.